Yeah, welcome back.
So what we discussed we'd do at the end of last episode is kind of just go through the economic opportunity, I suppose, and just shed some insight into why we think there's something in this.
Yeah.
So what I think we'll do today is take people through kind of the numbers side of all of this, and explain the model that we think we can achieve long term that excites us, I suppose.
Yeah.
So like what we went through last week was really this is what a 7-day syllabus could look like. Today, what we're going to talk about is like the financial implications of that. But I think we both kind of came to like the gut feel that we want to be moving towards like a $10,000 like USD price point for the 7-day program.
Yeah.
And I think maybe what we can discuss here is why we think that's attainable and what that would allow us to do from like a product quality standpoint. But and I'd love to hear your idea on this. But like if we were to deliver a syllabus that radically improved people's games as customers ourselves, I think if we were to watch a product in the marketplace that delivered a 7-day boot camp that delivered really fantastic transformations, it's very easy for us, I think, for me personally, to drop $10,000 on that product. And I think we're both of that belief.
I think that's the conclusion we came to, yeah. Us being our own ideal customer so far.
Yeah. And that, to a lot of people, that might seem like a heap of money, but maybe something we can do here is break down the logic around what the alternatives are.
Yeah.
So the big thing is there's people that search stuff on YouTube that they can get for free and not progress at all.
Yeah.
And invest a heap of time in this.
And essentially become more confused than they were at the beginning, I think.
Yeah.
As we've all experienced.
And then there's obviously a cost to that. It's not a monetary cost, but it's a time cost. And then you've got the PGA getting a lesson every week for how long. And arguably, I didn't think we did the math on that, but like that's $250 a session at least. You only have to do 40 hours of that.
Yeah.
40 hours of that to get to the same price point.
Exactly. Yeah.
The issue with that is that it takes you 3 or 4 years to get to that, the acquisition of all the information. But most of the time, you never leave.
Well, that's just lessons.
Or the hitting mat.
Yeah. It's also just lessons, direct lessons with a swing coach or a PGA swing coach, I guess. You could probably do that within 6 months, 12 months if you went hard. And, you know, if we equate the cost per hour, $250 is probably the higher end. But if you're going to do it, you're going to want a decent coach. Let's say it's $150, and you do that over 6 months, and you're going to have 2 lessons a week. You know, the numbers start to exceed what we're charging pretty quickly. Whereas in our, and the question is, what are you getting for that? That's the main question, if you want to really break it down. You're going to have lessons. Yeah, exactly. You're going to have lessons with the coach. And how much are you going to get into all the wider stuff? Are you going to have to pay extra to get him to take you out on the course and teach you direct course management, which we'll be doing in our program? Are you going to have to pay extra to sit down with him in the classroom and go through course management, mental side of the game, you know, all the theory and knowledge stuff that you need to also absorb, which we're going to cover within the boot camp? So that's really the main question. And then is it a like-for-like comparison? Probably not, because we're trying to take a holistic approach to it and do it in an intensive 7-day program, teaching while creating the training circumstances and the playing circumstances, because we want to train them, we want to teach them so they're learning new knowledge, and we want to train them so that they're, you know, correcting and getting the foundation for their swing for the rest of their life, and then taking them out on the course to practice it under pressure, where we know things start to fall apart. You forget things, you get emotional, you don't necessarily have a very well refined routine to come back to each time, which is what we're going to teach you. And then we're going to assess you on the course, continue to train you on the course. So you're getting this holistic approach. So yeah, I think my conclusion from running those numbers was they're not necessarily like for like comparisons, but if you did a like for like comparison on the cost of PGA coaching twice a week over a 6 to 12 month period, it quickly exceeds what we're charging and what we're planning to charge. And what we're planning to charge at the moment includes, the entire bootcamp syllabus, devising that personalized development plan for you to take away, plus our bespoke training aids, the swing mat and the weighted club piece, the ongoing support, the community. There's a lot of extra pieces to it. We're not ready to show exactly what else we're putting in for that cost, whether that covers accommodation. It will definitely cover green fees and training facility fees, but we've got to make all those considerations. So the like for like, that's probably the breakdown of how I've approached the like for like comparison so far. And I just think on the PGA side, you're going for swing lessons. That's what you're getting.
Yeah.
And in that swing lesson, yes, you might be covering chipping, putting, irons, driver, but in the program there's a lot more to it that we want to teach and share and embody to create all that value for that person in the shortest time possible, and then give them that core foundation to follow through on with our support and accountability and community and all the other elements that go with it. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it.
And that's the thing, like, working on full swing mechanics has massive value, but to a degree there's diminishing return from it because you're only narrowing your shot dispersion, but that's only a scenario like a half of your shots are within 60 yards.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So it's getting up and down, and it's a lot of the time it's lag putting, and then it's putting from within 15 feet, and then it's the mental operating system and the way that you manage the course.
Yeah.
So very quickly, swing mechanics becomes a mere fraction of everything required to post serious numbers. And I think
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
That's what Jake, when he showed the syllabus, his syllabus is reflective of that idea.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so what we see this as an opportunity to basically shortcut the learning curve for a heap of people, and think that the thing is, comparatively from a PGA Tour option standpoint, it already makes more sense financially. The thing on top of this is the absorption of the content in real time as well. So it's one thing to learn something on the internet. It's another thing to have a pro there helping you implement what you've just learned in real time, and then go out onto the golf course with a group of people that are all implementing the same thing and sharing your field notes, and have a pro there as well.
Absolutely. With a shared goal.
And that probably brings up the...
Just quickly, it's funny because I was on a call with Jake yesterday doing the low level syllabus design stuff, and he said something funny to me. He said, "Scratch golf is not pro golf; it's chess." And I was like, "Of course!" And this is again the misconception that we're trying to communicate with our potential customers around, is that scratch golf is pro golf, and it's actually not. It's very different. And what does that mean? Well, it means that maybe it's not just about swing mechanics. And if you were going to spend that $10,000 or $15,000 on getting a PGA coach, well, you'd probably do better to spend half of that money training with him, and then spend half of it getting somebody to teach you course management, teach you mental game, teach you, all the wider pieces that come with it. On the basis, and from what we're seeing at the moment, we have to go and experience this ourselves, of course, but we keep coming back to this. If you could crack mental game and course management and risk management without changing your swing, you can potentially knock 3 to 5 shots off. So then spend your money there. because that's probably the quick. If you're like our ideal customer, maybe time poor and you want the quickest results, well, that would actually be where you spend your money. If you were smart, you'd spend it on both,
Yeah, and that's I think that highlights a point, is that our number one competitor is the PGA Tour coaching system. I've put it to us that the only reason that they don't offer that is because they haven't figured out the most economic business model to monetize it.
Yeah, it's too difficult, maybe.
Or they just don't know how to think about it, or they realize that their business model centers around teaching pros at driving ranges.
Yeah.
So then they build an entire syllabus that optimizes towards their existing physical assets.
Yeah.
Which is, it means that they're building with the architecture that they have in mind instead of starting with what's actually best for the customer.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the kind of exciting thing from our standpoint. So the other thing is, like, a lot of people are going to think 10 grand for a 7-day boot camp is on the expensive side. This is why the market we're going after becomes really important, because we both know that in order for this to be an attractive business proposition for us, $10,000 per boot camp bum in seat is what allows both of us to see huge potential from a growth standpoint.
Yeah.
It covers the margins required to bring multiple team members on, but most importantly, it allows us to have a heap of fuel when it comes to marketing acquisition.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
And
also reinvesting and scaling the business.
Yeah,
the direct scaling model is that we will need more coaches, and we're going to also need to train our coaches in our way of doing things and in our syllabus. So eventually, I think the biggest R&D cost will become a coaching academy, where we can train our coaches in the way that we want them to teach our groups of players, our customers, to create the most value within that 7-day period and beyond in their personal development plans. That's the direct route to scaling. And to do that, we will need to reinvest as well.
And that's and obviously I think we both know that I think 10 is massively attainable. But like I was explaining to you, I was in a golf trip to Handara, which is like a kind of a Balinese golf course here that's at a way higher altitude. So it was nice and refreshing from a temperature standpoint.
Yeah, it's cold up there. Yeah.
I played with another 5 guys, and out of the 5 guys, 3 of them are automatic locks for our beta program.
Amazing.
And the way that I pitched it was literally, it's a 7-day intensive boot camp where 10 hours a day, you're either learning off, what's Jake off? Plus what?
Plus 3 to 5.
Yeah. You're learning off a plus 3 to 5 golfer who's been through the whole program himself.
And that's really important, that bit. It's like you're learning from a guy who's pro player.
Yeah.
And he's going to teach you all the things that it's taken him 10 years to learn without holding anything back. That's a really key one.
Yeah. So you're going to, after 7 days, you're going to walk away with all of the information, the structure, and the process, instead of spending another 10 years acquiring piece by piece of it and having to figure out how to knit it out yourself. So I think it becomes a very easy value proposition, especially once we get those beta testers in. But we also understand that the product's not there yet.
Yeah. If you switched it into another analogy and you wanted to learn marketing, well, you can go and do it on your own, and you can consume all that content online, and you can go that route. But how long is it going to take you? So I guess the core value proposition here is also we're condensing down that knowledge and learning time, right? And you think those guys saw that immediately?
Yeah. I mean,
that comparison?
Yeah, I think it was really just the story of me going, look, I play golf with this guy, Fionn, and we don't think that there's a good option out there for people like us who are busy to get down to scratch, or like at least move in that direction. So we've just dedicated a 7-day window and paid a pro to come and build a syllabus specifically for us and follow us around for 7 days and teach us absolutely everything that he knows.
Yeah.
And that's basically all I said. And then they were just all, yeah, let's do it. Just let me know.
No questions.
They were like, literally no questions. And that's, I think it's a good indicator.
Do you remember when we first started talking about this? You suggested, actually, you said, I think I said it, you said that would be a good name, but it was The Perfect Week.
Yeah.
That was like, you're like, that's a good name for the whole thing. And because it is, that's what we're all, we love golf. We're competitive guys. We're going to get to go and play for 7 days. We're going to get trained by a professional player who's going to share the whole kit and caboodle with us about everything. Devise a development plan out of that we get to take away. And then we're part of the community and we have accountability. And then we progress through that. And if we want to come back and top up down the line, we come and join another program and we'll have a level 2, system ready for you, and you're going to play all the best courses in that country. You're going to stay in great accommodation. There's great culture around, it's an experience as well.
Yeah.
And also those intensive, experiences that we have are usually the ones that grow us the most as individuals, where you're testing your limits. And that's what we're going to be doing here. 7 days is a long period of time, but we're going to be responsible about that. We're not going to be letting players just smash 100 balls off the range. Every morning we need to look after ourselves physically as well. But yeah, you're essentially going to play the week with similar like-minded people, competing against them in a fun way to engage learning, playing some of the best courses in that particular country. We're always going to pick the best courses to get out there and practice your new skills, to really embody them and embody the knowledge and the training. And then at the end of it, there's going to be a competition for the entire group and see who's developed the best, who wins the comp. It's like, for us, for me, that is the perfect week. It's literally the perfect week.
Yeah. And I mean, I think what might be good is we can go through what we've discussed from a model and strategy standpoint, but there's even so many things we can do from people can potentially 6 months out say, I'm going on that one. And then you can put people on payment plans, for example. That's something you can easily do.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be good to kind of shed some more light on this. So basically the main product at the moment is the $10,000 7-day intensive boot camp, which we will run X amount per year relative to demand. This is also taking into account that we think it's probably going to take us, at least 12 months to get to that when we can start charging that number. Everything leading up to that point is really beta testing, improving, refining.
Exactly.
And that's what we're
documenting. Bringing players in at a discount on that price so that we can use them as guinea pigs, essentially, give them the experience and just get constant feedback and understanding, and keep improving and iterating the program.
Yeah.
Which is a classic, way to get people to commit to case studies and testimonials and come and have the experience at a reduced rate on the basis that they're going to help us, improve it
content.
And create marketing content. Exactly.
And so what'll eventually happen is there's a $10,000 live boot camp price tag, and then there's a layer below that. Everybody that invests the 10 grand gets 12 months access to the community and the online support, where not only do you get the same intellectual property that we teach at the boot camp, but then you get the ongoing support and help from the golf pros and ourselves with the implementation of the workouts and the training routines that we're providing as well. So the 7-day boot camp isn't let's get you down to scratch in 7 days. It's here's everything you need to know to get down to scratch. Here are all of your cadences from a training and a prep and a mindset standpoint, so that you can go away over the next 12 months and work on it. And so it's really important to understand that there's kind of two layers. So it's like $100, and I'm kind of guessing it's $100 a month community where people can access the intellectual property.
Yeah.
which allows us to probably have 50 times the amount of people going through the intellectual property and in the community, 50 times more people than actually come to the events.
Yes.
And I think we've discussed that a little bit, but our strategy is that everybody that's on the $100 a month subscription, all of that revenue can potentially become the marketing ammunition to grow the base of those people.
Yep.
And then all we're doing is running campaigns and promotions to the people that are already in for the next upcoming event.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
The marketing's wiping its own face, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what we're doing is we're picking and mixing skill sets that you've learned through like software development and improving products and beta launching and putting not half-assed things out there, but moving very quickly with new offers to get the customer feedback loop to, like, I can imagine we're going to learn so much just from us going this first time in like 4 weeks.
4 weeks now, yeah.
Oh man, so
yeah,
so good.
Can't wait.
But we're going to learn a heap off that, and I reckon the product will triple in how good it is there, and then we're going to beta it with potentially 10 people and realize all of the areas where it sucks. So I think over the space of 4 or 5 events, like this thing is going to like exponentially improve in product quality. But
yeah, 100%.
It's really this. You have to start at the economic model that is going to allow you to get to your business goals. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. So I think a lot of people here would get the quotation for the golf course and what did it cost the pro, and then they'd add a markup of like 20%, and that's just a silly way to go about it. You're actually way better off starting at the numbers that you know get you to the goals.
Yeah.
And then figuring out how to engineer a product that, basically how do we build a training program that delivers $50,000 worth of value in a week so that when you charge 10, it's an absolute steal? And that's kind of
that's it.
The way to think about it.
I think that's 100% it. How do we make it feel like we've under-promised and over-delivered in every area?
Yeah. And
I also like the idea of the pre-camp stuff, which is, the minute that you sign up and you've made that commitment to the program, your changes will start to come from that point. We're going to be collecting data on you. We need to see your swing videos. We want to play a survey to understand what your goals are, your strengths, your weaknesses, all that kind of thing. But this is already happening to me in my game, just, by just pushing the business side forwards. I'm starting to take more due care to my game, starting to try and implement things that, are helping me to score better on the course. So that commitment from my side is obviously having an effect on my game already. I've had to get into the gym for the past, which I haven't been doing recently and consistently. And I've given myself the commitment to be in the gym 6 days a week for the next 4 weeks so that I'm strong enough that when I get there, I can do I can manage the intensity of it. So all these things starting to have effect on me already. And that I want that to be the case for the customers too. And that's another element of the minute you sign up and make that commitment, your game's going to start changing. And how do we deliver that? So that's part of that, trying to deliver all that value as well.
Yeah.
It's not just the 7 days,
So then basically there's no limit on how many people we can have at the $100 a month level. And I mean, that's just an arbitrary number that we've come up with. We might actually find it's less or more. And we can shift the numbers based on whatever our goals are. We might honestly find.
I think it's probably low.
Yeah, it might
be
low.
If we took the whole bootcamp curriculum that we teach in the 7 days and we turned it into video content, and most of it, and put it online and sold that for $100 a month, maybe that, that's, and it's delivering, then it's probably low.
Yeah.
But again, from a business perspective, what do we need it to do? That's the question. And here we're saying, well, we just need it to give us marketing ammunition. So make it a no-brainer for people because, and again, what are we giving them? Well, it's like what we talked about last week, which is those 3 pillars. Here's a clear pathway.
Yeah.
And follow this sequentially. It's not like clicking on lots of different YouTube, shorts and snippets and trying to piece it all together. It's like, follow this sequentially. There's your pathway.
Yeah.
Immediately out the gate,
And that's like, we will, our job here isn't to like hide any of the IP that goes into this, but in the information product space, the way to think about ascending customers is to lay out the framework and show all of your guns on how you're doing it, and then sell people differing levels of access to you.
Yeah.
So the workshops, you're going to get a lot out of the instruction manual on how to do it online, but where you're going to really absorb it and get the 4K definition understanding of how it applies specifically to you is going to be in the actual the 7-day thing. So
yeah, exactly. And it's a lead magnet into that, right? Essentially.
Yeah. So there's basically the cost for us to deliver the digital version of the online community version of this is practically zero once we have one person in. It's going to be it's one person, 10,000. It costs us the exact same to deliver. So there's no limit on what that can do from a revenue model standpoint. The reason that the $10,000 price point excites us, because at that level, we probably understand we're going to be able to cover most of the operational costs to allow us to do this in multiple countries, multiple times a month or a week eventually.
Yeah.
And that's the margins have to be built into that. Otherwise we very quickly
I think the long-term goal would be eventually you could probably pretty much pick any week, future looking, and find a boot camp that's taking place in a country somewhere. Like that would be the goal.
That would actually be sick if it got to one a week in one place in the world.
Yeah.
That'd be insane.
Yeah.
And then like what we've talked about is we're going to end up running into a heap of bottlenecks when it comes to the operational considerations of that, because obviously there's a cost to get teaching pros that understand our syllabus to the location. So we might find that they're set locations. Then we'd obviously have to figure out, is it better to have like a US based golf course where we host all these things?
Yeah, exactly. And that might be a home base eventually.
And
again, this is all future looking, very, very future looking stuff, but it's interesting to talk about because these are the considerations. I was mapping it out the other day actually, and if you look at the countries with the most number of golf courses and the countries with the most number of players, you could pretty much create a presence around the world by having a program in Japan or South Korea, Vietnam, which is where we started to kind of cover wider Asia. And then you're really looking at Europe, South Australia, Canada, East Side, East and West US. That's it. Like that's where all the players are. And I like the idea that anybody can fly in within 5-6 hours.
Yeah,
because that's again more achievable for time poor people. But that would kind of be the ideal coverage eventually.
Yeah.
And maybe each of those becomes a home-based course, because in Vietnam we are traveling to multiple courses, and that does add logistical challenges, moving people around, wasting time that we're not training, or that we have with those customers when they're visiting us. So there's all those considerations. And then the main one that you said in terms of cost is, getting coaches to those locations consistently if you're running it at that, that kind of aggressive schedule. And then training them up, as we mentioned earlier, like with the academy concept. We have Scratch Mastermind Coaches Academy, to make sure that they're teaching and delivering the curriculum.
I wonder
in the best way possible.
Like obviously professionals at the start, but I wonder, like this is just a hype, like a question, but like we're both of the belief that the best person to teach is the person that's done it.
Yeah.
I wonder if we get to the point that do you need a pro if somebody's gone from 6 to scratch?
Yeah.
or does that person become now
Is he
qualified
qualified to do it? Yeah.
because they've walked the exact path?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, players could become the coaches potentially.
Yeah.
And then we have a head coach who's, Jake's role in all this, I think, will eventually be a bit similar to ours, which is, going out and testing all the new thinking and techniques in all the different areas, whether he's learning the latest in mental game and neuroscience, or whether he's learning the latest technology that's being used for swing theory and biomechanics, and bringing that back into the program and being able to, make an assumption and say, I think this is going to be valuable to the program. Let's put it in and test it.
Yeah.
See if it creates more value, creates more results. But it's going to be, a constant path of discovery around all these new things that we can update and add in for me, for you, and for Jake.
Yeah.
And then that needs to be fed in and incorporated into the program, tested to make sure it adds the value that we want it to.
And that kind of highlights a point. Like if you bring it back to first principles, like Jake's value isn't the fact that he's a pro.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that he plays off +4.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that has value in this situation, if you really think about it, which is huge, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's a heap of teaching pros that don't play off 5.
No.
So why would somebody go spend $200 an hour to learn how to get perfect swing mechanics off somebody that can't even go low?
Yeah.
That seems kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, because the question is, what did Jake have to do to get to where he is?
Yeah.
And what's the level of intricacy he went into in every single area to get there?
Yeah.
That's what we're sharing.
Yeah, that's the only thing that has value.
And we're accelerating all of that. So you could, like Jake, spend 12, 13 years trying to do that and figure that out for yourself, because he had a lot of coaching, but a lot of it he had to go away and figure out himself over that period of time. So you can go and do that, and maybe you get there in 10, 13 years, or you can come and work with us and him, and he's just going to share all that information with no filter. Like that's where we're going to. And then the question is, how much of that information can you absorb in that period of time? Plus we give you all the foundations that you need for every part of that.
Yeah.
To take away and practice, because it does take time. It does take time to then ingrain and embody these things. But that is it. Yeah. Jake's IP is the amount of work and experience and mistakes and learnings that he's had to get him to where he is today. And that's what we want to share.
And that's the big thing, is like a lot of, and this is true as well, and all marketing is trying to highlight is presenting the perspective that makes sense so that people can understand what they're actually getting. So it's like, oh, well, 10 grand for this in-person 7-day boot camp, like when I could go get a subscription for $49.95 with somebody online.
Yeah.
But what if it's literally everything that's needed, and this machine is pumping out people that are reducing their handicap by 5 to 8 shots? Like, that's what we're actually selling. So the funny thing is, you can actually sell a guarantee, like, to a degree.
You could, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I guess eventually we're going to be proving that in all of the case studies and the testimonials, and that's what people will see, and see other people getting the results. That's the best way to validate that, right? But there is a slide in my deck which talks about, after I've presented the boot camp from a sales perspective or a marketing perspective, it's like it's titled, "What are your other options?" Like, I've just outlined that we're going to do all of this for you, and we're making a commitment that we will deliver on that. If that's what you want, what are your other options? Well, it's what we talked about. You can go off and do it on your own. It's going to take you a long time because you're not accelerating any of that knowledge journey piece that Jake's got. You can go to a PGA coach. Maybe it's not holistic. It's not going to give you every single piece. Or if it is, it's going to cost you more money. So even if you did that over a 12-month period, it's going to end up costing you at least twice what we're charging to do this at the moment. And it kind of progresses down like that, right? Which is I think it's quite a nice way to frame it for people, because it's like, what is your other choice? You want this thing. I know you do, because I want it too. And I've been on the other side of it where I've made no real progress in my golf game, to feel consistent and fulfilled playing golf and, all the other bits that go with it, confident. So I know the other side of it. I think that's quite a nice way to frame it, But I mean, if you've got the testimonials and the case studies, and that's what people are seeing, people getting those results, that's what we want them to see.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, like, when you position a product in the marketplace that's uncomparable to the format of any other product, then that gives you the right to name your price, because you're uncomparable. So, like, we are obviously still trying to find the right balance. We might actually find that 8,000 USD or 7.75K might be the number. But what's more important to understand is that the game of business is continually trying to manipulate the product so that it gives people a better outcome whilst reducing the cost to deliver said outcome. And really the only thing that will eventually drive pricing will be demand. Like, we will want to get to the point where we build this list of $100 a month customers that are learning this stuff, and then we run a workshop and we find, okay, we've only got 15 spots.
Yeah.
But there's 35 people that are interested. Well, that means whatever the price that time is, it actually has to be more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So pricing will be completely dictated by supply demand.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that says that it could be considerably less or considerably more, but we're kind of just making I suppose the big idea is that the absorption of the content and the experience of dedicating 7 days of your life just to getting everything that you need for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So that you've got an operating system, like, just from an experiential standpoint, will be something that you won't be able to get anywhere else. Like, I did probably the best, like, 5-day stretch of my life was going to St. Andrews and playing every course there, including the old course on the last day.
Nice.
And, like, that's something that I will never forget. Me and my mate from Australia, like, we're really going to create an event that's of that scale. It's not just
an experience
thing
for people as well. It encapsulates all of it. Pushing your own boundaries, an experience, coming together with a like-minded group of people who are all probably from a similar background,
competition,
and have similar ambitions, competitive business people, just love golf, just want to get better. At that price point, it also holds you accountable to get the most out of the program from us, which I love.
Yeah.
You're going to pay that. Well, you're going to turn up and you're not going to fuck around and you're not going to drink and you're not going to, be turning up late for the sessions, because you want to extract as much value out of this thing as we can possibly give you. And we're the fire hose. We're just going to keep giving it to you. If you've got your stock shot in order, great. We're going to give you 3 more. Sorry, your stock chip in order. We'll give you 3 more chips. If you've nailed the 3 more chips, we're going to give you the other 3. We're going to give you 3 we will go as deep as you can go and give you as much information as you can hold on to. And then we're also going to try and give you the techniques to hold on to that information more effectively, so that when you step out on the course the next day and you've just done a 2 or 3 hour course management session in the classroom the day before, you're remembering what we taught you, how to assess off the tee, how to assess your approach shot, all that stuff. So, but yeah, I think the ticket price adds up to that. If you played like you would for a golf holiday, 3K, maybe 3 to 5 days, 3 to 5K, accommodation included, and it's just a jolly with your mates, there's no technical, you said this last week, there's no technical prowess in that, right?
Yeah, there's no
beers on the course, and that's great fun. We're not saying that there's no time and place for that. I love that too. That's great fun, just to go have a jolly with your mates and just smash balls.
But you could always do that.
You can always do that. But what we're talking about is scoring.
Yeah.
How can you score when you want to?
Yeah.
And switch it on when you want to and when you need to. If you're playing for money, if you're playing in a comp, if you just want to be your mates, that day, and you're like, okay, you lot can fuck around. I'm gonna switch my game on here. I've got 3 more gears because I've learned how to manage myself emotionally.
I know how to do this.
I know how to assess the course, and I'm just going to play the golf that gives me the best percentage chance of scoring the best score I can score on that hole. Like all of those things factor into it.
I think we might also be underestimating how much organic reach we might get from this. Like we've sold people into the idea that are already coming, and we have people traveling from Melbourne coming to Vietnam. But we're gonna got potentially coming from Canada as well.
It's funny,
but
we haven't pitched anyone. We haven't released a podcast yet.
You can imagine there might be like a $10,000 price tag, but it's a $9,000 price tag if you sign up as an affiliate marketer. So as long as you post 5 pieces of content on your social media profile, we'll give you $1,000 discount.
Yeah, give you
and then that opens us up to a huge addressable market. But anybody that you've played golf with in the last 5 years is going to hear about you going on this 7-day boot camp, whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
It's not like you're ever not going to bring it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I think the organic reach we could get out of this, it might actually be enough by itself.
Yeah.
It might be a slower burner, but
you could offer, incentives to attendees for their friends, because we know they're going to go back and talk to their friends about it, or at least their friends are going to see the improvements in their golf game and ask them. I think yes, of course they're going to talk about it, but that's also an ideal. It's like, he goes back, he wants to play for big money that week, wins all the money, and they're like, what the hell's gone on? Like, you didn't make a mistake today. And he's like, yeah, well, did this thing. And, oh, cool. What? How does it work? Blah, blah, blah. And you would give them discount codes to do it. But I think we talked about this in the last episode. I mean, that, for me, that is the definition of product market fit, right? Because it's people telling other people about your product. And how often do we do that? We don't do that very often. Out of 100 products we consume in a month or a week, whatever, we might mention 1 or 2 or 3 to people, and
that's a good thing about building a.
Then what does that do to the marketing costs, right?
Maybe we're going to think about this more, but like, we're building like a once in a lifetime event for people. It's not just another. It's not just okay, I'll spend $400 on getting my pipes refixed by a plumber because they're broken. Anybody can do that. Like, it is like a once in a lifetime thing for a lot of people, which I think has a lot of inbuilt novelty in it already. So, yeah, I think we might easily.
Do you think it's a one and done thing, or do you think it's a regular thing?
I think at worst case, it's a one and done thing.
Yeah.
I think best case, I think there's people that come.
Well, I think
in every marketplace,
there's a lot of progression in those directions as well for us, right? From a product perspective,
there's power laws within marketing. It's like if you've got $100 product, there'll be at least a couple of people in those that buy, out of the 100 people who buy $100 products.
Yeah.
At least 2 or 3 people will want a $1,000 product.
The whales, yeah.
And then within that segment, there's people that want to spend $10,000.
Exactly. Then there's product extensions there for us easily, right?
Yeah.
You got down to low single digits. Come join the VIP Plus Club, and then the curriculum's optimized for that with a smaller group of people.
Yeah.
More time with the coach directly, just really working on those niche things. But yeah, there's a lot of directions we could take that in terms of product, and we could go the opposite way as well. I think we talked about that last week, where it might not just be mid-level golfers Why not hire and bring them down to mid or whatever it is, with the same holistic approach, but the blueprint's the same across all of it, I think.
Well, that's the good thing about like Jake. A lot of what he's giving us is not like ninja stuff. It is really the foundational stuff that even is like you can get to 8 by just having a little bit of consistency and a little bit of mindset. Like there's nothing special about how we've got to 8, I would have said. Because we've both got completely different swings, and it's, we still kind of scramble our way to breaking 80 every now and then. So I think,
but I think it's
the foundations.
Yeah. Would you rather be an inconsistent 8 or a consistent 8 or a consistent, maybe lower? But my point is like, it's the inconsistency of my game that frustrates me the most.
Yeah.
And probably drives me to want to learn more and want to be better. I would like to be able to be doing it because I intended to do it, not because that just seemed to happen that time. And the next time I've hooked it right or, whatever, or made a bad decision or got emotional about it. I'm learning a lot about how the emotional side really affects your game. Huge, physically and mentally, negative self-talk, tensing up on the next shot because you're still fuming about the one before, and you can't hit a golf ball if you're tense. It messes up all the biomechanics, so I'm learning a lot about that stuff as well. I'd like to become an intentional golfer, I think is probably a good way to describe it.
Yeah. And then the confidence from knowing that you have an operating system for every situation that's out there, I think is really powerful as well. And that kind of highlights, I think, what might be good is next week's episode, we can talk about like all of the technology that we're putting into it so far. So we can obviously talk about aim point. We can talk about just a few of the course management things that we've already wrapped our head around that have been beneficial.
Yeah, we've gone into a lot of detail. We covered it high level last week, but we've gone into a lot of detail on those things now.
Stance and set up.
We've documented Jake's entire process for the dry run, and some of it is super interesting. A lot of it, and we can start to talk about some of those.
Well, let's just go through all the ideas in the next one.
Yeah, maybe pick one from each category and just talk about it as a snippet to begin with, to give people a detailed, broader, scope of all the categories that we're covering or the modules that we're covering.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Yeah, so like, kind of wrapping up, like, probably the underlying thing is, if we didn't think we could build a $10,000 offer here, it probably isn't worth pursuing, or like it becomes less interesting to pursue because we understand. Like we want to build something that has technically infinite scale, or at least gives us the option to move in that direction if we find it to be something that we want to do. So even though we're a long way from it now, you've got to start with that number in mind because it dictates your decision making, leading up to it, doesn't it?
It's funny, isn't it? What is our, we see the opportunity, we see that this thing maybe doesn't exist. We see there's a problem in market in golf. It must be a problem because only 1% of 66 million people play off scratch. But scratch is not pro golf. It's just, let's call it smart golf. That's 600,000 people out of a country the size of England, the entire population of England. Only 600,000 people in that country. Is about 68 million in England. There's something off there, no? So is our vision as a business, if we really want to take this worldwide and global as an offering, to actually just reset the balance in that? Because it seems off to me. And then you say, well, why is it off? And then maybe, is it because there's a lack of interest? No, there's a lot of golfers. They all want to golf. Every golfer I've ever met wants to be a better golfer.
There's not a lack of intent.
There's not a lack of intent.
People applying a lot of time and money to it.
I think there's definitely a viewpoint that and I had this as well, that, training coaching, PGA coaching is expensive. It is. That's definitely a perception. And a lot of people don't go down that route for those reasons. But yeah, there's something in that as a higher vision as we continue down this journey that would, and for me, it come to the empathetic side. It's like, and I know I would people have a much better enjoyment of the game if they played smarter, better, more consistent, more controlled, more intentional golf?
Yeah.
I think they would, because the cliche is the opposite of all of that in golf, right?
Yeah.
The cliche is the opposite of that. Red face, throwing your club, angry, storming off, you know, and it shouldn't be like that, I don't think. So maybe that's kind of, you know, our vision or mission is kind of tied into that.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I think about all of the masterminds and the training and the kind of mentorship that I've invested in. All it's highlighted is why some things in my situation aren't working yet.
Yeah.
So when you become aware of why something's not working, you also figure out how to make it work. So we're just basically dramatically increasing people's understanding of everything that goes into golf. And like, that's why, hence it's called the Scratch Mastermind. It's everything that you need to be aware of that impacts your ability to go low, basically.
Yeah, it would kind of be like the junior going to a golf academy, right, where he's just suddenly immersed in golf. A lot of us didn't get that opportunity or didn't do that, and we still love the game. It's maybe an adult equivalent for that, you know, online and with a physical event to accelerate that process. Yeah, maybe not a bad analogy. Oh, we're still figuring it out.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll change a million times. But,
yeah.
Cool. Let's wrap it up.
Great. Yeah.
Let's
really good conversation.
Next week, let's go.
We'll get into the detail on some of the technologies that we're employing.
Yeah.
In the syllabus itself, and our technologies are the fundamentals are our technologies combined with some training aids and theory and a bunch of other stuff. But let's dig into it.
And maybe, the other way to frame it is just what are the big ideas that Jake's bringing to this V1 that we're going through in a few weeks?
Yeah, fantastic. Awesome. Great stuff, man. Enjoyed it.